Hey, it is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. We're zooming in and focusing in on a real game changer, a real key perspective and cognition, a new neural network wiring and firing, a new neurochemical or neurohormone that you can begin to create and generate within yourself to really move beyond the malignant narcissist, the psychopath, that person who has really presented a whole host of difficulty, negative feelings, being sucked into them like a negative magnet where you feel you can't really get rid of this feeling or this person and their negative influence in your life. It continues to be a problem. It continues to taint you. It continues to affect you. So it is that situation that we are going to focus in and address on today. And before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to those of you who have recently made a donation to the channel, particularly our viewers in the eastern part of the United States, out in the great state of PA, Pennsylvania. I want to give a huge shout out to you. Thank you so much for your viewership, your input, your comments, sharing your experience, as well as your contribution to the channel. It really does help give me feedback and keep me inspired to create crafting and designing content for you and the viewership at large. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to a viewer who recently made a donation all the way from the Netherlands. I really appreciate your viewership, your support. It really does help keep the channel here alive and producing content for you. And it is an honor and a privilege to be able to share these resources and tools of knowledge and support with you for some very difficult relationship situations that you might find yourself immersed in and engulfed in. And I know that there oftentimes is very much a lack of resources and tools and knowledge, especially in that area. We have a very strong viewership in the Netherlands. So very interesting. Thank you so much for your recent contributions. And I want to really focus in and zoom in a little bit more in depth on really how to deal with, for a non-secular term, a sort of, what do you call it, like a slang term, really addressing the quote-unquote smack, the negative talk, the negative projection, the lies, and the pathology that is emitted or projected from a malignant individual, such as a narcissist, a malignant narcissist, or a psychopath. In understanding why does it continue? Why do they continue this slander, this negative self-talk, negative talk, the projection, the constant and chronic berating, negative comments, negative seeping through like underneath the door, their projection of the fact, they're trying to erroneously and negatively project that you are wrong, that you are doing something wrong, you are wrong as a whole human being. And this really creates what is kind of like a smack talk, where that really becomes a constant battling or a constant barrage. If you've ever seen like a machine gun, just do, where they just keep firing these negative comments, these negative feelings. And you, unbeknownst to you, is kind of like seeped into the blood-brain barrier, basically where this person is now kind of in your system. They're in your gut. They're in your solar plexus. They're really tainted and really polluted in the I am. And the game changer is really important to really understand when it gets to this level where this person is like constantly underneath your skin, annoying you, really giving you a state of internal tension. It's creating a constant state of fight or flight, a fear base. You cannot, you feel like you cannot neutralize this person. You can't, get away from them and this really negative feeling, which then become ruminations, which are repeated thoughts and repeated emotions. In other words, the body just begins to react to this really as a sort of life threat, as a sort of, like a toxic element or a toxic compound, which is now in your blood, and your body is trying to fight it. Your body is trying to rid of it. It's trying to purge it from the system. And a real game changer, once this has occurred, as it's very important to understand, for one, that these pathological individuals, that this is how they derive pleasure. This is how they derive the sense of being in control and having power over people. They take a pathological delight by connecting or relating to people in this manner. So yes, they will target, they will single out one or two, but oftentimes it will spread into other people where they will just project this negative talk about you in the forms of being very belittling, condescending, and creating a network of lies. In other words, they will make up stories. They will make up comments. They will make up constant complaining about you, which does not exist. It has no basis in reality, but they pull this out of thin air, i.e. their pathology, to really sort of inundate you with this negative feeling, this paranoia, this suspicion, and this is how they begin their psychological, takeover and warfare. This is just what they do. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with what you've done wrong. Chances are they are targeted. They do this because this is just how they gain significance in life. So it's like a 6-year-old with a gun. If a 6-year-old has a gun and says, I'm going to hold you up at gunpoint and rob you, that little child has instant significance. Even though you're the adult, even though this person can't drive, even though this child doesn't have a developed mind and empathy, they need guidance, they need control. You are more grown up and mature than them. Your cognitions could really, basically are evolved beyond this person, and you have a lot more experience. Basically, you are going to have a shutdown of fear because they have a gun. It's just, and that actually has occurred. There are children who do this. Their parents have instructed them and armed them with this. But that is very much like the situation, which is kind of like wrapped up into this, this individual who is pathological. They are like the 6-year-old with a gun, where you have that like feeling of terror or intimidation. So my number one game-changing tool for you is to not be intimidated. You cannot be intimidated by these individuals, even though they throw the lies, even though they throw the slander, and even though they might have a smear campaign where, basically they have other people believing them. For one, don't believe the lies. Do not be intimidated. Do not be thrown off by it. Do not get sucked in. Realize that it creates that fight or flight and that really sort of traumatic neurochemical of cortisol and the stress hormone of adrenaline in that reaction. So now you could be sitting still, but based on these lies, now all of a sudden you feel like you're being chased by a bear, a machine gun. You are like suddenly on trial. So this is how these people react. And it's like being on the front line of a war. It's almost like being a soldier. You might not be wearing a soldier's uniform, but all of a sudden you find that you're enlisted in a battle against this person. And this could be a family member, this could be a boss, this could be a coworker, this could be a spouse. We have viewers here who are like, oh my God, I have children with this person. What now? So you might find yourself in the thicket. It's like, good morning, Vietnam. I am now, this is my life. This is the front line. And so not only do I want you to understand the perspective that it is the lies, and you need to see it with your own eyes, the lies, and really kind of oftentimes, understanding that another key game changer might be that you need to expose them. Really the ultimate, when it gets very, very bad, is you need to see them and confront them with who they are and speak your truth. Go ahead with your lies. In other words, the other game changer is to understand that their comments, their behavior, their tactics, their loud noises, their yelling, their screaming, their threats, I'm going to call the lawyer, I'm going to call the police, I'm going to tell everybody about this, and give you the blab mouth, what I call basically the smack of the narcissist, is to realize that it's completely irrelevant to you. It has no bearing on you. It has no meaning. Part of the issue with people is that they have assigned this real meaning of truth to this individual. In other words, I should really be afraid. I should be paranoid. I am taking what they are saying at face value. I'm accepting their lies as truth. Hello? The answer is no. Sort out the truth from the lies and realize that they're going to continue to do these lies. Why? Because they are pathological, because this is how they gain significance. This is how they gain power. This is how they gain control. Do you see the thread? Do you see the thread going through their behavior? And if you accept what they're saying, you are literally jumping on a merry-go-round. You're literally standing on the ground, grounded, being able to look at life in its pleasantries, its peace, its harmony, your joy, your passion. All of a sudden, you decide to jump on the merry-go-round. And all of a sudden, you feel that your life no longer has any, you no longer have any power. Things are spinning out of control. So I use a lot of analogies because that is exactly what their energy is like. You need to step off of the merry-go-round. Okay, and you need to realize that their comments are irrelevant, meaning have no bearing, have no meaning on you. And I liken it to this, and you really need to feel this neurochemically within your body. You need to really kind of get the feeling first in order to have it like an armor that you now have. And you also need to be able to live your life without the armor, which means if you're constantly coping, you're not living your life. If you're constantly in a cope state, you're in a tolerate state, and you are never going to be able to celebrate life. You're never going to be able to celebrate life how it's meant to be lived if you're constantly in a tolerating coping state. It's just going to shred you up. It's just, you're constantly going to be pulled into that merry-go-round, and you're constantly going to be hearing this smack, 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 smack. Here go the gums, here go the lips, here go, the crunching, here go the lies, and it's constantly going to be in your ear. So you need to realize that, you need to separate. You need to get physically away and chemically away from them. And the neurochemical will begin to generate the more pleasure hormones, the dopamine, the reward, the oxytocin, sort of that feel-good chemical will begin to be produced in you once you can generate it and see what they are saying is irrelevant. And I liken it to this. For you to be able to experience this. If you are a non-smoker, look at how irrelevant smoking ads are to you. You are not looking for a newer, better cigarette, okay? So just like those ads, which are irrelevant to you, realize that this is what the words, the comments, the lies are like of these people. They're completely irrelevant. I liken it to this, like an advertisement for which you have no need for. For example, if you are, let's say, your house, you've completely followed the recovery journal, you've made some changes in your house, and you have your life the way you want it, and then all of a sudden you see an ad for a hammer. That ad for a hammer, is irrelevant because you already have a hammer. You already have this in your possession. You already have focus in your possession. You already have feel-good vibes, going in your life. You already have this. So you need to generate these feel-good feelings by adopting many of the tools that we discuss here. And I will continue to go over these in examples again and again because you do need to hear this again and again and again for it to really soak in and have your aha moment, have your breakthrough. So begin to see their negative talk, their smack, as irrelevant, and almost as if begin to notice ads for ones that are relevant to you, meaningful, and where you want your life to go versus irrelevant. In other words, you might not be a vodka drinker, but you see an ad for vodka. And, you don't pay it any attention. It doesn't mean anything. It goes one ear out the other. You're flipping the page. You're not looking in that direction. Begin to understand that the negative lies are very much congruent or equal to an irrelevant ad to you. Begin to see it in that category. And their lies are irrelevant. Begin to find it. It's like an advertisement for vodka. It's like an advertisement for smoking if you're not a smoker. If you are a smoker, then that's, you need to find an ad for you that's irrelevant. In other words, I really request that you go look at advertisements today. And look, maybe there's advertisements for travel. Maybe that is relevant for you. You do want to travel. Maybe, you see advertisements for paint. Maybe you do want to paint. Maybe you do want to do some interior decorating in your house. Maybe you see an advertisement for bathing goods. You do want to be more clean. You do want to smell better. You do want to feel better. Those are relevant. Begin to notice irrelevant ads and what they are, and begin to see how you really don't pay any attention to them because they're not meaningful. They're not supportive of you. They're not relevant. They're not meaningful. They're not going to enhance your life. Now, begin to understand and equate that the negative talk, the smack, the illusionary lies, the hallucination of lies that this person is trying to say to you, lure you back in, hover you back in, draw you back in, get your eye contact, get your ear contact, get your hand contact. Realize that this is all designed to take you out of your joy, take you out of your heart space, take you out of your happy place, and get them back into that merry-go-round. And begin to see the correlation in how irrelevant it is to you and how your body processes the feeling, and begin to get that clear perspective. That will be a very big game changer, and you begin to then enter into life and your awareness of this individual with being grounded, having your feet on the floor, looking straight ahead, and gazing at the positive things which do give you joy, and begin to really emanate and create and generate those positive feel-good feelings, and begin to say, yay, begin to say, I'm feeling the joy. And it's no crime to feel joy, because hitherto that it is almost as if the narcissist has called it a crime for you to feel joy. Begin to realize their law is not, their lies are not the law. You create the law. You need to abide by the law of the land, which is to begin to see that distinguishing feature and set forth the idea that you are not a criminal. You are not in the wrong. You are not to be paranoid. You are not to go through the ruminations. That is not the law. Begin to realize you have not broken the law. You've not broken the emotional law. You've just said no to the malignant narcissist or the psychopath. It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. And I really, truly appreciate your viewership and your input and comments and support. Please do share, and please do subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.